two parallel tracks. For those who have not, I'll explain that very quickly. For first, I would like for you to stand with your feet together, with your toes and your heels touching. Now I would like for you to take one foot directly back and turn your heel in just enough to see your knee going exactly forward. So if you have turned in too much and your knee now is facing outside, you limit your hip action. You limit your movement and your body action. So what I would like for you to do is to make sure in front of the mirror that your knee is facing forward. Now at this moment you're going to say that it looks like I'm standing on one track, and you're absolutely correct. But it's only because of the rotation and the turnout of the feet. If I go back into parallel footwork, I'm standing in the perfect sixth position, which has two parallel tracks. Now, I'm going to give you two little exercises that you could practice in the studio or in the privacy of your own home. One of the exercises is quite funny. For women, I would like them to take their skirts and pull it all the way up in the very upper part of your thighs. And men can take a magazine and put it there and hold it with the hand. Now every time you're going to move, I would like for you to concentrate pulling your thighs together, connecting it, creating a beautiful tone, slight tension, that it feels like as if you're wearing a very, very tight miniskirt. So every time you move, you're creating that little tone within your thighs, thus making your leg action look longer and your legs look more toned. As we do this exercise, another exercise that I would like for you to try is to step on two pieces of paper or napkins. And every time we're going to move, we're going to create the foot pressure between your foot and the floor, thus keeping the napkin constantly moving underneath your feet. So as we create the tension in our upper thighs and the tension called foot pressure, we're going to continue rumble walk, keeping the tones within the legs, keeping the napkins moving with you. And at every moment, feeling how your foot slides the napkins on the floor. Same feeling as when you're standing on the beach, right in front of the water, your feet sink into the sand. So you want to have the same kind of feeling that your feet arrive onto the floor gradually. So now you know what we would like for you to try in terms of leg action and footwork. Now I'm going to take it further by explaining to you when we actually transfer the weight onto the foot and when the foot action happens in time. Slavik has already spoken to you about body weight and how to use it. Now I would like for you to understand that when we do rumble walk, we don't transfer everything at the same time. You have half a beat for foot transfer and half a beat for body weight transfer. So as you move, you go half a beat for the foot, half a beat for the body, half a beat for the foot, half a beat for the body. And that happens on counts 2 and 3. However, we have 4 and 1 and. So in that case, when you have 2 and 3 and 4, now you have and 1 and 4 body weight transfer. And 1 and. Thus creating it a much slower action. Now, how do we transfer the body weight? Let's talk about footwork exactly. Now, we don't go onto the ball of the foot right away. We have to first commence the weight onto the toe. Now, as you commence more weight onto the foot, we lower into the ball of the foot, and the heel is lowered just before the full extent of the step is achieved. Then we transfer the weight. One more time, we have a point of the foot, toe on the floor first. Then we continue transferring the weight onto the ball of the foot, and the heel is lowered just before the full extent of the step is reached. Now, when we go back, it's a different story. We don't arrive onto the toe first, we arrive directly onto the ball of the foot. So when we go back, at this moment, we have the toe of the front foot, and the standing leg is more on the ball of the foot. Now, as we continue taking the leg in, we can commence onto the center of the standing leg, and the free leg is on the toe. Now, as we continue going further, we directly put pressure onto the ball of the foot. Now, I'll explain why this is very important, because a lot of our students actually do arrive onto the toe. If we do arrive onto the toe instead of the ball, Afterwards, when we transfer the weight onto the ball of the foot and continue going further, our base becomes too big. The step becomes so big that it's really difficult to get onto the foot. So you'll have to physically push yourself from the other leg to get onto the standing leg. What you would like to think about when you do this is about your leg action as well. As we commence onto the ball of the standing leg, arriving now into the center, from here we're going to touch our inner thighs, knees, and calf muscles together. So as we continue going back, we're going to stop on the ball of the foot as soon as your calf muscles are connected. So if we stop a little further where your knees connect, or even further where your thighs connect, it's too big, impossible to do. Yes, so you have to make sure that the foot reaches maximum extent as soon as your calf muscles are connected. So as soon as your calf muscles are connected, your ball of the foot arrives onto the floor. Now at this moment, this takes half a beat. The heel is lowered before the weight is transferred completely. So you take half a beat for the foot, and an extra half a beat goes heel down with the weight on. Yes, we do it one more time. We get onto the center of the standing leg, continue onto the ball of the foot as soon as your calf muscles are connected, lowering the heel with the weight. Now the front leg, we don't push from it. We're not trying to help our body weight arrive onto the foot simply because using muscles of the leg in front of you. But it has a natural release of the heel off the floor because the body weight arrives onto the center of the standing leg. One more time, we arrived onto the ball. Right now, my weight is on the center of the standing leg. We lower the heel down, transferring the weight on top of the leg that we stand on, and naturally release the heel and ball arriving on the toe in front. Repeat that one more time in the center of the standing leg. Continue till your calf muscles are connected. Ball of the foot is already on the floor. Lower the heel with the weight. Naturally release the heel and the ball in front. So, in order to create beautiful footwork, one of the most important things to know is leg action. When exactly do we know how big the base is? When do we stop our foot from moving back? I mean, this still looks very good, but now if I continue going further, I can't achieve anything. So you be aware of the base of the step, be aware when and where you arrive on the toe, and what timing you transfer the weight, and what time you transfer the foot. Now we have come to the last explanation of technique, which is going to be the body action. Rumba is a body dance, so body action and hip action is very, very important. Now we use all body parts in all the dances, but we concentrate the most in cha-cha on the legs because we want very sharp action, very cheeky movement. Samba, on the other hand, we concentrate more on the knees because bounce is one of the main aspects of samba. Now if we were to say what are we concentrating on a lot in rumba, we'll have to say hips. Your hip action creates that softness, creates the sensuality of romantic rumba. To explain the sensuality of hip action, rotation, counter body twist, pendulum, and of course compression, I would like to invite my partner Slavik to demonstrate the actions for us. Now we're going to begin with a very basic rumba movement, the cucaracha. So we'll ask Slavik to stand with his feet apart, straight legs, straight knees, and his center, his body weight exactly in the center, right between his feet. As he's going to create the cucaracha action, what we're going to ask him to do in the beginning, just to rotate his hips. But how are we going to rotate? I would like for you to imagine a number 8. Take this number 8, turn it horizontally. And we're going to try to create number 8 action in his hips. Very well. Now, please pay attention that when you do that action, turn around, so your side, that we're not rotating this hip action of number 8 in the back, using the back muscles. Can I see that? Yes, even though it's probably very easy to do, it's not attractive at all, and this is what we're trying to avoid. So you're gonna visualize that you have two little pencils attached to your hip bones right here on both sides. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna keep rotating these pencils and draw a line of number 8 with them. So we're gonna try number 8 created with the pencils on the side. That way, if you turn around sideways to the camera one more time, that way his hip action is not in the back, but opposite, it's in the front. And every time he's continuing on, make sure that he goes through the front forward and through the front, rather than leaving the action behind. Now, hip rotation is beautiful and it's very big, sensual and soft, but we could make it even bigger by adding on pendulum. Now, for you who have seen other tapes of cha-cha-cha and samba, you might be aware what pendulum is. But let's recuperate one more time. Imagine a huge clock, and the hand on the bottom goes from left to right. This is the pendulum action, from the center going to the left and from the center going to the right. Now we can implement that action into the body. So what's going to happen? You're going to go from left to right, from left to right. And as we go to the right, we create a higher action on the right and a lower hip on the left. As we continue to the other side, this hip is the highest, this hip is the lowest. As we're going to do that, we're going to implement the pendulum together with number 8. And try pendulum and number 8 together. And rotate, around, up. Rotate, around, up. Notice that at the end of each number 8 on both sides, his hip action is not flat, one-leveled, one-dimension, but on the contrary, creates a pendulum on the right. Now he continues on and creates a pendulum on his left. Higher hip, higher hip, higher hip, and higher hip. Now, to make sure that we're doing the correct action, I would like you to think about how the cucaracha is done. So what we want to do is we want to focus on his feet. As we do that, please notice on his feet. Great. As we do that, please notice that his feet are not coming off the floor, that his heels are constantly on the floor. And what he does, he rolls from inside edge to the center of the foot back to the inside edge without swiveling the foot back and forth. Now, if you would like to see it more clearly, we would like for you to turn around and sideways the camera. As you see, the heels are constantly on the floor as he does the cucaracha action. He never lifts them and he never swivels the feet. He only rolls from the inside to the center. Very well. Let's go back to our hip action and pendulum. Keeping our heels and feet flat on the floor. And gonna create one more time a number 8 and a pendulum. Great. As he does that, please pay attention that his thigh muscles are activated. They are following the hip line. You're not tightening them and trying to resist the hip action with thighs, making them very restricted. On the contrary, they are loose. They're like waterfalls flowing down, but they follow the line of the hips. To make this hip action even more, even better, even softer, we're going to add on the rib cage, the sides. Now, as he rotates and does the pendulum and does his hip action, he's going to activate his side, his rib cage. It's going to go in the same direction as his hips. He's going to continue the same thing on the other side. He's activating his rib cage, thus creating much bigger action. He has about 10 more centimeters added on right now. Now, to create it further, what I would like for you to think about is the shoulder blades. Please turn around. As he does, these parts of his body are not lifting up. He's not picking it up to create a bigger action, stretching the side out. What we would like for you to think about is keeping it perfectly down, pressing it under, rotating it from inside to outside so the shoulder blade is sitting on top of your back, not lifting up, and stretching his arms out. So as he starts rotating, continue, his shoulder blades working in opposition of the sides. So if this side right now went back, his right side is going back together with his hip. His shoulder blade on that same side is going forward towards me right now. So he has a counter body twist at this position. as much as he can do. As he continues, he does exact same thing on the other side. He continues taking his ribs and hips back while he takes his shoulder blade forward. And thus, as he does this, if you could turn around, as he does this and does the cucaracha again, what side? Rotated. Great. As he does this, notice that when this part is rotated maximally back with his hip and ribs, his shoulder blade going forward, thus creating a side lead, a stronger side lead on the other side. Same thing happens on the opposite side. And rotate forward. This is going forward. This is going back, creating a beautiful side lead on the other side. Very well. Now it seems like there's nothing else to add. There is one other thing that we could put on this to have an extra movement. It's called compression. Now, in a dictionary terms, compression is simply squeezing of two body parts together. Now, in dancing, even though it has similar meaning, it's not the same. So if we ask Slavic to back the camera one more time, we'll explain the compression. Now, for compression, we're going to be using these muscles, the muscles that connect the shoulder blade and the hip together. What we're going to do, we're not going to squeeze them together and bring the upper body down. On the contrary, we're going to keep the shoulders and upper body as straight and as statuesque as possible. And as we compress these muscles, we're going to lift the hip towards the upper part. So now that you can see, he has a lot of creases in the back. If we can zoom in on this part of the body, you can see that his shirt, even though it's beautifully tailored made, it has a lot of creases. If he releases the compression, he has a beautifully straight back without any creases. So when we compress, we bring the hips to the shoulder blades by compressing or squeezing this part of the body. Can we have the compression one more time? Back the camera. And he's going to do number 8, pendulum. Beautiful upper body, keeping his shoulders straight and his shoulder blades pushing down. And a beautiful compression on each side as he pendulums his hip from left to right. Now, pendulum action and compression and all of this does not only happen when you do cucarachas. It happens throughout all the movements. And to demonstrate one more time, this movement could be a simple rumba walk. So if we could have a rumba walk forward for us slowly. Great. As he gets onto the position, notice that his right hip is already up. How is it up? Because of the pendulum and, of course, because of the compression on his right side. Notice that his shoulder is not going the same way. That his shoulder is not going the same way like this, but in opposition going forward. So he maintains this facing the audience and he rotates underneath down. As he continues transferring his body weight forward, he releases the compression and allows the hip to come forward. Now, what very often see you sometimes is that people think that as soon as you have compression in the back, you have to compress it forward and try to squeeze these muscles together, drop in the chest, and creating a horrible line. So all this action is not necessary. We would like for him to have a beautiful, straight, natural, neutral position in the hips. As he continues rotating the hips around, opening the way for his leg to come in, he squeezes the back side of his left part and continues pushing his hip up, going further into natural position, rotating the hip, opening the way for his leg to come in, compressing his right side, holding the compression. As he continues body weight forward, he releases the compression, arriving into a neutral position. And one more time. And can we have that same thing as going away from camera so they could see your back? And 2, 3, 4, 1. 2, 3, 4, and 1, and 2, 3, 4, and 1, and. Very well. You can see the difference between having and not having rotation, compression straight away. This is creating much more sensual, much softer, flexible action. As he does same thing going forward, there's one last thing I would like to point out. And going forward, stop. As he does this, look how much he creates a side lead. He's not going flat, one-dimensional, without anything. That's very horrible. That's completely flat, not interesting to watch. On the contrary, he wants to go, one more time, good way. He wants to go with extra side lead, creating a beautiful posture and a strong side lead. And on rotating the hips, compression, beautiful, creates a Sugoi side lead. Continue on. And 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and. Very well. Now, Slavik and I both hope that you can understand what we're trying to say, what we're trying to teach you in Rumba, that Rumba is a body dance, that it's not about how hard you can get on the foot or how much you can hold a certain position or a trick. It's all about softness and flexibility of the body action. So thank you very much for joining us. It was a great pleasure to share the love of Rumba with you. We also would like to thank Studio Himawari for giving us this opportunity and let us become a part of your learning experience. We would love to meet you personally in the future, but for now, this will have to suffice. So, remember that you can dance anywhere.
You can dance in your mind.
But what really matters is when you dance in your heart. So love is a dance.